My original intent was to spend one night in Little Rock. The next morning, about a mile from the motel, the bracket for the seat broke. It's a major part. Not only does it hold the seat in place, it positions the seat in relationship to the pedals. When the bracket broke, seat slid all the way back, and I couldn't reach the pedals. Um, at that stage, I realized it was a mistake uh, choosing the recumbent instead of the bicycle, instead of the mountain bike. Um, the recumbent was chosen because it's comfortable, but recumbent specific parts are currently problematic uh, in regard to availability. So I decided to buy a mountain bike and ship the recumbent to a friend for storage. And so this is the beginning of the mountain bike portion of the tour. I actually had a mountain bike prior to the trip. I had both a recumbent and a mountain bike. The mountain bike was perfectly fine. The only thing I probably would have done was get a wider gear range for the mountains. I sold the mountain bike and decided to do the recumbent. Turned out to be an expensive mistake. In Little Rock, I basically had nothing to ride at the moment, and the potential extended wait to get the necessary part. So I went shopping, and turned out Little Rock had limited range for my size. The Trek shop had a Trek Roscoe 8. Really nice bike. The gear range is fantastic for the mountains, but it's also the most expensive mountain bike that I have ever owned. It cost me, with outfitting, a bit over $2,000. Bryant, Arkansas is on the south side of Little Rock. Now that I had a mountain bike, I decided to use the bike map app again. I stopped using that because of its use of gravel roads and how that might affect the recumbent. That might have actually been a factor on what damaged the seat bracket. Hard to say. The going was initially good, but once it got out of Bryant, Bike Map led me west into the outskirts, basically country area outside of Little Rock, put me on a country road with no shoulder and a substantial amount of traffic. But it wasn't too bad, somewhat uncomfortable, but my ultimate disappointment with Bike Map is it took me onto a private road which dead-ended at a gate. So I had to switch back over to Google Maps bike mode, which got me back on track and in a more bicycle-friendly area. I'm honestly a bit disappointed in Bike Map. It showed promise, but I think for most of my journey, I'm going to try to use the bike mode on Google Maps. It seems to recognize the rideability of streets better than Bike Map does. high points of this segment are the Two Rivers Park in Maumelle with the adjacent Arkansas River trails and Conway. Conway will appear later on in this video. Currently, you are seeing footage of the ride through the Two Rivers Park in Maumelle. This is where the route takes me over the Arkansas River. Quite a long ride, but nice visually. The downside on the other side of the river was a lot more intense of a ride than the video shows. Most of the rest of the way from the Arkansas River to the Maumelle motel, which was on the north side of Maumelle, was relatively easy because Maumelle had built a bike path that paralleled the main road, which I believe was called Maumelle Boulevard. As a consequence, I deem Maumelle, within my experience, to be a bicycle-friendly town. If you get a chance to visit the Two Rivers Park and the Arkansas River in that area, it was quite fun. Conway is a college town. As a consequence, it appears to be more progressive than much of the rest of the area along the route. There were even some Biden signs, which is quite different compared to much of the rest of the route, which had a range of Republican, Trump, and Confederate signs and flags. Looking back on it, I wish I had modified the route and spent a day or two in Conway. If I'm ever back through the area, I think I'll revisit the town and get to know it better. Most of this route was along Highway 65, which was fairly easy. It had a decent shoulder most of the way and mellower inclines. The next video is where I divert off 65 due to suggestions to go to Mountain View. It had some pros and cons, which I'll cover in the video. Until next time, get out there.